be very, very deliberate and cautious in eventually finding who's going to represent you when you go to buy real estate after you've figured out exactly where you want to be.
That is awesome advice. I think that's something that anyone would need to hear no matter where they want to purchase real estate in Costa Rica. So that is like gold. Hi everyone. So today in this video, we're going to be talking to Matt Rosensteele. He's a real estate agent in the Tamarindo area. He covers like an hour north and south of that on the coast. And he's just going to discuss about purchasing real estate in Tamarindo and kind of what you can expect and just share his knowledge that he has working in that area.
Hello, greetings to everybody. And thank you very much, Sarah, for having me today. It's a pleasure. I've seen Sarah a lot on YouTube, obviously, and was super stoked that we connected.
Yes, and I do want to mention Matt also has his own YouTube channel, so you can find that in the link in the description below too.
Yeah, thank you very much. No, a lot like Sarah, I've been sharing simple advice, ideas about moving to Costa Rica, etc. Like she says, I'm a realtor with Coldwell Banker, Tamarindo Realty. Though actually I live in a much quieter community just south of Tamarindo. And really for the last 7-8 years, I've been in real estate, first as a part-time job while I was still running a nonprofit organization, and most recently becoming full-time when my second son was born a few years ago.
That's exciting. So are both of your kids born here in Costa Rica?
Yes, they were. Jonas is 5 and Daniel's 3.
Actually, so just while we're on that topic, would you mind telling us a little bit about how you ended up in Costa Rica and, you know, how this...
Absolutely. Yeah, well, right after college, I signed up for the Peace Corps, which is a U.S. government organization that sends people abroad to do 2-year volunteer stints. This was in 2008. I was very lucky. Peace Corps sends people to dozens of countries around the world and some very difficult, crazy places. And I got sent to Costa Rica and ended up spending 2 years in a beautifully small, quiet, rural village, not too far from where I live now. It's only 7 or 8 miles from this quiet community that I call home now. And so I spent those 2 years by myself in that community as a Peace Corps volunteer. Went back to the US shortly after finishing that, got married to my wife, who we had sort of been together for years and years prior to that. And we came back together in 2011, first to work with this nonprofit organization. And we've been here ever since in the same place. That's the long and short of it. We now have our 2 kids. We've got a little house just outside of this beach community where we live, and we're hoping to be here for the rest of our lives.
So what attracted you to Costa Rica? Like rather than just visiting and doing the volunteering versus let's come live here? I guess what was it so appealing for you guys? I mean, I kind of know, but maybe for a decision.
Yeah, honestly, it was always just pure dumb luck and going with the flow that, I found out that I was a big time country mouse. I love this rural area. I absolutely love being in a tiny town where everybody knows each other's business and where there's a very strong sense of community. Mm-hmm. So really, in Peace Corps, I met the right person who sort of offered me a job a year after I had finished. And we weren't passionately thinking, oh, we need to change our lives or we need to, get to a quieter country, etc. It was more that, oh man, we've got this opportunity. Why not go down? Anne-Marie, my wife, had visited me a couple times during Peace Corps. She found that she loved it here as well. And I think especially for people from Indiana, which is a part of the US that maybe isn't as vibrant or interesting, even, topographically. It's a flat place with, nice medium-sized cities, a lot of agriculture and not too much happening. That contrast to come down and live in a quiet beach community where, we get to go out and enjoy some spectacular Pacific sunsets every day. that contrast was very appealing, and we've just been able to make it work ever since then.
Awesome. That's awesome. I love hearing people's stories about how they ended up here and what drew them. So I guess, yeah, we're here to talk about real estate as well. So what, I guess for someone, you know, some of my clients are interested in real estate, some are not. You know, I guess, can you elaborate on the area and just
Yeah.
people should know?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you know, there's some fundamental things about Tamarindo and Western Guanacaste that I think clearly differentiate it from the rest of the country, and that make it an easy process for people to figure out whether or not this might be the right place for them. In contrast to the southern areas and pretty much everywhere else in the country, the western coast out here on the Nicoya Peninsula, first of all, is dry tropical forest. It's not rainforest. I know I get so many questions from people writing that first inquiry saying, I'm dreaming of being on a hillside overlooking steamy jungle out to the beautiful ocean in, you know, with toucans flying by, et cetera, et cetera. That's not exactly what you can find here in our area. And at the same time, that dry tropical forest, and one of the primary reasons that this area has attracted probably the largest concentration of expats in Costa Rica, is that those 4 months of our very dry season, you know, December through April, the humidity drops, we get breezes, we get constant sunshine, zero clouds. That coincides with the worst of the US and Canadian winter. So that, combined with the fact that they built an international airport in, you know, Liberia, directly to fuel development, started this cycle where expats came down anytime during their awful winter. And no matter when you're here, January, February, March, April, you're guaranteed zero rain, zero humidity, breeze, sunshine, etc. The drawback is during that time of year, especially going towards March, April, you see the countryside is brown. It's a deciduous forest here, so all the trees lose their leaves, there's dust, etc. So there is that contrast to our rainy season where everything is green and lush and much more what people imagine. But that is very particular to our part of Costa Rica, that very distinct dry season where it looks for part of the year like, you know, Northern California or Texas. And for a lot of people, that's actually absolutely perfect. There are many expats who are looking more for an escape for a couple months of the year. There are a lot of people who absolutely hate cold weather or being inside or really being restricted whatsoever. And so, you know, this area of Guanacaste during that time of year is pretty much a perfect escape for those people looking to get out of it. And so essentially, you know, our area does get a bad reputation because it's more expensive than other areas of the country. And that's absolutely true. I'm not going to say that property values are lower here than other areas, but it's because of the demand. The prices are higher here due to that higher demand, and that higher demand comes from the quick accessibility with the airport. People love to land in Liberia, and you can get out to 60 different beaches within an hour or less of a drive. The accessibility, the amenities that have been created to cater to the expat community, and very much the fact that now there's this natural tourism cycle where, you know, all of that momentum and the people coming down here also create more rentals, you know, opportunities to own a condo and have other snowbirds come down and stay in it in that time of year. So very much, this isn't the perfect part of Costa Rica for everybody. I think especially those who are really dreaming of being in that lush, dry, you know, very much tropical, steamy rainforest, this is not it. But by contrast, our rainy season is much lighter. Our dry season for some people is great. And if you're looking for that sort of comfort, you know, we have lots of different huge supermarkets, private schools, hospitals, private medicine, etc. that's all been built up because this is a tourism area and a strong expat area. And if, you're focused really on those sorts of things, that can be a very strong reason people move here as well.
That makes sense. You can live in Costa Rica, be in a beautiful place, have all the modern conveniences and amenities that you would be used to.
Correct. Yeah, exactly. And if you need, so many people now are only going to be in their US or Canada office once a month or once a quarter. And so for many people who have all kinds of connections they want to keep, or family, grandkids, etc., it makes life very easy.
Definitely. Would you say, so for on the real estate aspect, do you see a lot of people purchasing investment properties, or do you see more people actually purchasing their home that they're going to be living in, or what have you been seeing over the last few years in that area?
The biggest change in this entire area's real estate market since 2009 has been a shift away from people looking at Guanacaste as a potential profit center and investment area towards people who want to live here or really enjoy their property for themselves.
Okay.
That's a result of several things. The region originally exploded, increasingly from the creation of the airport in the first day, the first weekly flights, I think in the early 2000s, that started fueling growth at first that was completely based on investment and speculation, where a lot of people, the first people to land and considering investing here were purchasing 200-acre farms for $150,000. These 200-acre farms could be located close to the beach, fully titled land. And all of a sudden, it was so easy. They had so little money to purchase the initial farm, to develop it, to start selling it to the Canadians and US citizens who were on those flights that started accumulating. There was a huge bubble at first based on this craziness and especially all of the fake money that was in the system prior to the 2009 crash. People had third and fourth mortgages, et cetera. Mm-hmm. In 2009, the speculation and investment really came to a grinding halt. And from that date, especially because people aren't borrowing as much and really, I think because of the shift in values overall, you've seen now that speculative investors, people who want to make a really high return on investment, are much more fewer and further between today. Now you see most people purchasing property are families coming to relocate because for one of many reasons, they think that this will provide a better quality of life. Retirees who, they may be only coming to Costa Rica for a month per year, but they want to have a nice property. They don't really care about the return on investment from they're not trying to get 8.5%, return on their rentals. They're just trying to pay their HOA fees while they rent it out and then have a nice place that they actually want to come and visit. Mm-hmm. And so our average customer now, and the other dynamic I feel is that it's difficult for me to pitch Costa Rica as a place where you're gonna make money because, even buying prime condos in the absolute best rental locations, we just had the most massive blow to international tourism ever. The people who own those investment grade condos now they're struggling very much to make the same financial return they expected. And really, there are so many Airbnb units on the market. The Costa Rican government is thoroughly taxing and, regulating rentals now. And so if you're doing everything legally, to me, Costa Rica doesn't make as much sense to somebody who wants just to make money as it really makes a lot of sense to people who say, I want to be at that beach, or I want to have this quiet experience, and I'm okay with my property maybe costing me money on an annual basis or just paying its operating costs.
That makes sense. So the types of people that you see who are coming and purchasing in, let's say, the Tamarindo and the area that you cover, north and south, what would you say, like, what's a good, like, what makes that area a good fit for them? Like, so if someone's thinking about Tamarindo, usually what are they attracted to this area? Like, what's a good personality or demographic for that area?
Well, first, this has to be one of the biggest concentrations of big surf waves along Guanacaste, or Central America's coast, and really, this area includes such a variety of communities that it can appeal to a wide variety of potential investors or people looking to relocate. There are very quiet communities nestled where, if you're looking for a super calm retreat without, quite as vibrant of an expat scene, you can have that and only be 30 minutes away from Tamarindo. Just like down in Jaco, you can find different communities. I think that a lot of people here are the ones that absolutely love the sort of California summer weather conditions where you've got sort of dry, breezy, if that's your sort of ideal. If you don't mind the dry, that's one thing that people need to feel to be prepared to live here. But in general, I think that people would be mostly, the aesthetic in our area is actually cattle ranching, rural, tropics. That for a lot of people can be totally different than what they expected or what they dreamed of when they came, thought of Costa Rica. They're thinking of that mountainside with the, lush everything. And this is a very different feeling in general. So if people love that sort of open campo, bajura feeling, that's what we have up here. You do pay a slight premium to have access to more amenities, etc. Though I think it's the same dynamic down south. The closer you get to amenities, bigger expat communities, etc., you're always going to pay a premium. Just that I know, once you get away from Jaco and further out into the areas in the south, that's where people start to find very inexpensive dream properties. Here, the inexpensive properties that you do find here are remote, isolated, run down, etc. And most of the inventory that actually appeals to people who want to move to this area, is going to have the pricing structure of catering to expats by and large. So, there's whether or not it's feasible to find these amazing $150,000 ocean view retreats with 3 acres and fruit trees on a good road, etc. in the south, I've found it very difficult to find that dream property for people here in Guanacaste, except for places that are just at the end of roads. Yeah,
Put you a lot farther away from what you want.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah. So I think if comfort is important, and especially for people who like having access to a social, retirees, for example, who want to have an active social life, this will be one of the easiest places to find a number of active retiree communities for you to engage in, instead of that option exists for older folks in this area.
All right, so I guess what would be, I don't know, what are either your top tips of advice for someone who wants to purchase, or what are some things that you look for in a property, like the, obviously titled, like what are some of the things that you help, that working with an agent would help protect someone who wants to buy? Or what are some of the procedures or things that you guys look for?
One of the things, first off, that I'm a big advocate dealing with hundreds and hundreds of inquiries. For people who are out there and, considering your first trip down to Costa Rica and a change of lifestyle, a realtor is not your first point of contact. Sarah, Elena, Michael Allen, all people who are providing general advice, your points of contact, and really what you're trying to decide is whether it's the right idea for you. And if you initially contact a lot of realtors, a lot of them are going to try and convince you that yes, it is, they want to sell you real estate, and that's the only way they're going to make their commission. And so they're not a counselor as to whether or not this is the right time in your life, if you found the right place, etc. Many people are making that pitch. I try absolutely not to 100%, but at the same time, if people come to me and say, I want to make my lifestyle change, I want this condo, I'm here, I'm ready to buy it, I just want to help them safely buy that condo and make sure their investment is protected. Mm-hmm. Visit Costa Rica many times, if not at least once for a long time. Take your time. The biggest emphasis, I think, is that people shouldn't feel that a real estate search has to be part of their initial search in Costa Rica, and that instead, really, your first job is, okay, do I love Costa Rica? Is this the right place? Have I found a community that's a good fit for me? Do I understand what I'm getting myself into? Is my relationship ready for this? Does my spouse really like it? Do my kids really like it? And you can't determine that by watching thousands of hours of YouTube videos. Sure. Come down, take your time. There's an abundance of real estate for sale. There will be real estate for sale when you decide to buy it. And so take your procedure that way. Once you have come here and said, okay, this community is the right place for me. I've been here, I've felt it, I've breathed and smelled, and I know what it is. Then you find a local, reputable person to become your buyer's representative, and I've heard some people advise pitting different realtors against each other and saying, send me your best listings, and because the theory is that, well, one realtor is going to try and sell you one of their listings where they get a bigger commission, and you're not going to get a real idea of the market. That's an absolute risk if you contact the wrong realtor. If you contact the right one, from day one, you say, look, I'm looking for an exclusive buyer's representative to be my advocate and okay, you don't have to make this speech, but you need to understand that you're really trying to get one person to actually take your best interests into their focus. And that person needs to be someone with extensive experience in the community, with the on-the-ground testimonials that back up that the person is reliable, et cetera, et cetera. Take your time finding that person. It's not the friendliest person at the bar. It's not somebody who you just get a really good feeling about, because you get a really good feeling about almost anyone here. When you're in the country. Yeah, no, when you're having a cocktail, absolutely, at a beautiful beach bar. I've had friendships with people that 2 days later I realized, oh my gosh, we're polar opposites, and I never, So anyway, take your time in finding your advocate. Find an exclusive buyer's representative. Your buyer's representative should be willing to show you any listings across the market. They should be willing to take you to see a dirt cheap piece of land or a house. And as you go about your process, if you feel that a realtor is trying to convince you, sell you something, really motivate you to purchase, really that is not their job whatsoever. And in fact, your realtor is there to listen to your needs, to try and find something that meets your need, and then present it to you within your budget and the right time. Very much you will see that there's a tendency when you're looking for representatives that are people who are trying to, my job is to make deals happen. And therefore, if I've got an interested buyer, I'm going to try and increase their interest and take it to a fever pitch where they're buying. And instead, really, people should demand better. It is available. I'm a part of a few networks now, both Costa Rica Global Association of Realtors. There's another association in the Central Valley. Both of them have members who follow by National Association of Realtor Principals in the US, the Code of Ethics. There are advocates available when you go to look for your real estate. The horror stories that people have online, and the reason our industry is so maligned, and rightfully so in many cases, is that yes, there have been tons of poorly executed transactions. There have been scoundrels. There have been people who have no interest whatsoever in fighting for their clients. A lot of times, though, not to blame victims, but it was a lack of research initially that led someone into that bad situation on that front. And so, yes, there was a scoundrel real estate agent or some contact, a comisionista, as some informal brokers are called. That has happened a million times. And in almost every one of those cases, if perhaps the potential buyer would have taken more time, spent more time in the community asking about that person, asking them for references, can you send me your testimonials from the last 10 customers you've helped? On and on and on. Either they would have said, oh, you don't have the last 10 customers, or, you know, I heard from 8 out of 9 people that this person was someone I should steer clear of. Even if you have this really, you know, this strong feeling in your heart that they're amazing and they just deserve a chance and they have a great energy, trust those 8 out of 9 local resources that are saying, that's a risk, steer clear. And, you know, like I said, be very, very deliberate and cautious in eventually finding who's going to represent you when you go to buy real estate after you've figured out exactly where you want to be.
That is awesome advice. I think that's something that anyone would need to hear, no matter where they want to purchase real estate in Costa Rica. So that is like gold.
Great. No, that's
amazing.
that's my big, yeah, if I could see one change, it's what I would love to see. And there would be, you know, more happy real estate customers in Costa Rica without, you know, all of these scoundrels, et cetera. And if there were more, you know, all of the information that's being provided by people like you and other YouTubers out there, you know, I think there are plenty of agents who would be scared by the fact that more clients are empowered with more knowledge. There are lots of realtors who hate to hear, oh, you should rent first. But I'm a realtor who loves to hear it, because 2 years later, or 10 years later, the people who didn't or weren't, you know, taken through that real process of research are the ones that are saying, oh, Costa Rica real estate's a ripoff and I never should have bought, and blah, you know. So anyhow, I hope that people feel that Costa Rica's real estate market, first of all, they should also understand that it's 100% formalized and transparent to a point where if they follow the right procedures and have the right advocates, it's leagues safer than many other countries. Than you know, the government here has done everything in their power to structure the market to encourage foreign investors and to make sure that they're safe. Worrying about squatters, which is one of the most common things people ask about online, is almost irrelevant unless you're planning to purchase a 15,000 acre farm and then never come back for 10 years. Or if you're planning to let people long-term rent without a contract. But, you know, squatters don't happen anymore. People, you know, public notaries just stealing properties, executing fake transactions. You don't see that anymore. Really, if you get connected with a reputable both attorney and realtor, buying property here is extremely similar to buying in the US. And in fact, you know, the other day I was looking up information from the National Registry, which is our fully available, public, transparent database, and something that, you know, in the US you would never see. In many ways here, it can be simpler to do business. And when you finally sign a 3-page transfer deed buying a house, versus a 150 page closing document in the US. The market here, it can be even simpler and more straightforward than people might expect.
Well, I learned a lot of new things today.
Great.
And then, like I never tell people I'm not a real estate agent. So when I do have clients who are like, I want to purchase property, then I always do make sure to forward them to someone reputable. But I guess that is an important part. So the real estate agent should not, if you're just thinking about moving to Costa Rica, like you're going to maybe have your first visit, you're still sorting it out of what areas you want to be in. Using a real estate agent for all your inquiries, all your this, that, and the other would not be appropriate. Correct. Because, you have to respect your time, as you're an agent, really. So when someone said, okay, I know I love this area, I've tested it out, I feel 100% sure, that's when the person should be ready to connect with their real estate agent.
Absolutely. And it's not to say, I do have clients right now that are not doing that. I love and respect their method as well. There are clients who feel so motivated to get out of wherever they're living. I feel that, yes, it can work out well and things will be great. They're taking the right step by calling someone reputable, but absolutely what you say is how I feel. Really, especially because I don't want people falling into the hands of those predatory real estate agents. I get so many interesting interactions on the flip side where customers who have been looped into sales programs with developments in other areas call me and say, hey, I'm coming down for my fly and buy tour that this development is offering me. Oh gosh. And most often it's even the same developments that I hear from. And a lot of people, I am absolutely incredulous. Most recently I had customers that I told them, I do not advise helping you purchase, or I do not advise buying land without ever having been here. A flat, undeveloped parcel, you don't know the location, anything about it, this is a bad idea. And 2 months later, because they didn't understand I was the representative for a different sales program, they were contacting me saying, hey, I want to know about building options. We just bought a piece of land. And it was like, oh no, you went ahead, didn't you? And it's because there will be people out there who say, oh, you two sound like you could be a great fit for us. And I'm going to let you in on a little secret. We just had a new phase of lots that are going to be offered on the market at $75,000 in 2 months. Just because you two sound like you're special, because you're going to be a great fit for our community. If you want to sign up for a pre-construction package, we'll get you in at $35,000 on the lot. We'll have this home, and they've never met the developer. They're talking to somebody who's part of a sales funnel that's working in Toronto, and people do end up agreeing to this because there are some great pros out there who will take your interest and just drive it to a sale. And if you find yourself signing papers or, rushing into it because it just feels too good to be true, hold up, call other people, wait, take more time, because really there's nothing in Costa Rica that is so hot you have to buy it right now, sight unseen, with a fly and buy, put $5,000 advance on your property before you've even been to the country. Come on your own trip. Don't stay with those developers. Yeah, those developers.
Trip,
yeah.
They
oh gosh.
I don't know how that works. I think maybe they even pay for parts of it, but they paint you the picture of Costa Rica that they want you to see.
Absolutely.
They arrange your tours, they arrange everything that you do during that trip. And, they have control over your trip rather than you having that autonomy to go out and see for yourself. Okay, what is it actually like here?
Yeah. They may even grade the roads up to the, property here is so variable over time, or the condition of roads, the condition of what,
Totally.
It's tragic when people also make a quick decision because they came when the road had just been graded. Wow, this is a 5-minute drive out to the beach. And it's actually a 45-minute drive by the end of the rainy season. Once, it just happened that, that developer, in preparation for their high season of sales, gets the roads nice, everybody's happy. They don't know that 3 months ago, there was a creek rushing across right here. These homes were inaccessible, the light pole tip, So anyhow, yeah, take your time, get a better, much wider angle view of what you're purchasing than whatever that smiling person is selling you, because it's those horror stories are largely a result of great sales tactics, and to avoid them, to invest happily, to move here and actually end up successful and thrilled that you did it, you can take your time.
Yeah. So you'd say to protect yourself from that, when you know that you want to at least purchase, having a reputable, I would just start calling them real estate advocates, like a real estate agent advocate. So someone who's actually advocating for your needs, and a good reputable attorney. And with those two things, along with your own research, consulting on the areas, which is a lot of what I do, and making sure things are a good fit, that should set up the person for success so they don't fall into one of these, horror stories.
Correct. Exactly.
Well, I think this was super helpful for, I would say, real estate purchase anywhere in the country. It was enjoyable to hear some of the differences about Tamarindo. But yeah, I think this is sage advice for anybody.
Thank you very much. I'm more than happy, my YouTube channel does focus a lot on specific questions that are mundane and boring. I'm Costa Rica Matt. You can find that easily using a hashtag or whatever. And there, I do stuff from taxes to corporations to the closing procedure. I'm more than happy to share everything on there and, be a resource to people. I've ended up, meeting tons of people from across the country that end up calling me because, so many attorneys or real estate agents, et cetera, have never explained some of these basic fundamentals to people. I very much believe that even if you don't really need, arming yourself with a lot of this background knowledge, even if you're not going to purchase real estate anywhere in my area, being able to understand when you're going into a transaction, I understand how these closing costs typically work, et cetera. That can all be helpful when you get, into a transaction and everybody hoping to make money.
Do you have anything, last words that you'd like to say? I want to be respectful of your time. I think this has already been an abundance of amazing information, and I will have your YouTube channel and the link in the description. So absolutely, if anyone's even, curious about real estate, definitely go over to, Matt's channel and look through some of those videos. That's the wonder of the internet. We have a lot of free information out there.
Yeah.
When you're ready for someone to walk you through the process, that's when it's nice to work with a person. Like with my service, all the information's out there. You could essentially go do it by yourself if you really wanted to. But if you want someone to walk you through it,
Yes. I'm also happy to help people if they're uninterested in my area. Like I mentioned, I'm a part of a couple different networks where at least I can give you our reputable references for that particular area.
Perfect.
Obviously, with Coldwell Banker, we have franchises throughout the country, but I'm also a member of AmericanEuropean.net, which is one of the strangest sounding networks, but run by a person who probably has more real estate experience in the country than anybody else, Ivo Henfling, who's, I can ask him about almost anybody in the country. Do you trust this person? Do you trust that? I'm more than happy to give references because more than anything else, I want people to not lose their investment. I don't want them to end up one of these nightmare stories. For me, if there's anything I can do for people, it's to help them be successful instead of one of the unsuccessful stories. And I'm more than happy to help. My contact information will be, available, but do reach out to Sarah if you're interested in my area and you'd like to get in touch with me. She's got all my info, and I'm more than happy to help.
Yes, and my email will be down in the description too. If you're kind of new to this channel or if you've never emailed me before, it'll be sarah@lostsaralana.com. You can find it in the description. So if you want to get hooked up with Matt, just send me an email and say, I'm going to talk to Matt. So again, that would be, yeah, if you're interested in his area, which is Tamarindo, but then also a bit north and a bit south. And I think
Precisely.
it's perfect that, you know, you would at least also have a reputable contact. That's the
Yeah,
goal.
absolutely.
That's always the goal of what I do is getting people hooked up with reputable contacts.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I'm happy to help people to be clear in Playa Potrero, Playa Flamingo, Playa Grande, Playa Tamarindo, Langosta, Avellanas Negra, Junquial, and Lagarto, which is anyway, which is the end of the earth, but definitely a wide range of communities where in Flamingo, you've got a $35 million marina project. In Junquial, we have a $35,000 tiny lot for sale right by the beach because it's quiet and remote. So there's all kinds of communities where I'm more than happy to help people.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
This is amazing, and I'm really excited to get this out there.
My pleasure, Sarah. No, I really appreciate you being willing to host me on your channel, and I'll be available anytime you want to have me again.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Alrighty.